Imagine waking up tomorrow with the freedom to do anything you want, not because you won the lottery, but because your money is working for you. You're not just surviving, you're thriving, all thanks to interest. But the million-dollar question is, how much money do you actually need in the bank to live this life? Today, we're diving deep to find that magic number. Welcome everyone, I'm John, and you're tuned into Practical Pursuits HQ, the channel that empowers you with practical wisdom for financial freedom, self-improvement, and so much more. Before we dive into the calculations, it's essential to get our financial vocabulary straight. Trust me, understanding these terms will make your journey to financial freedom a whole lot smoother. First up, let's talk about interest rates. Think of interest as the rent you get for lending your money to someone else, like a bank. The interest rate is the percentage of your money that you'll receive over a specific period, often annually. It's like your money is working for you, even when you're not. Now, let's talk about compound interest, the snowball effect for your money. Instead of just earning interest on your initial amount, compound interest lets you earn interest on your interest. It's a powerful way to grow your savings exponentially over time. Remember, the magic of compound interest works best when you give it time. Last but not least, the dreaded inflation. This is the rate at which the general level of prices for goods and services rises, eroding your purchasing power. Imagine you have $100 today. Due to inflation, that $100 might only buy you $95 worth of stuff next year. When you're planning to live off interest, you must account for inflation. Otherwise, you might find yourself falling short of your living expenses. All right, folks, it's time to roll up our sleeves and dive into the calculations that will set the stage for your financial freedom. The first and arguably most crucial step on this journey is figuring out your monthly expenses. Let's get into it. First off, you need to break down your expenditures to the last detail. Create a comprehensive list that covers everything: rent or mortgage, utilities, transportation, insurance, groceries, and even those subscriptions you forgot you had. And don't overlook the little things, like your daily coffee or occasional dining out. Every single dollar counts, and neglecting even the small stuff can throw you off track in the long run. Once you have this list, add it all up. The total number is your monthly living expense. Sounds simple, right? But the importance of this number can't be overstated. You see, this isn't just about today or tomorrow. It's about setting the foundation for the rest of your life. An accurate monthly expense figure serves as the cornerstone of your entire financial plan. If you underestimate or overlook expenses, you risk jeopardizing your long-term financial health. Just a 5% miscalculation could mean running out of money years sooner than you expected. So, what's the action plan? Start by tracking your expenses for a month. Use budgeting apps or good old-fashioned spreadsheets. Examine your bank statements and credit card bills. Once you've got a month's worth of data, you can then extrapolate to get a fairly accurate idea of your ongoing monthly expenses. Remember, the more precise you are now, the more secure your financial future will be. So take your time, be meticulous, and get it right. Your future self will not just thank you. They'll be living a life of financial freedom because you took this step seriously. All right, you've got your monthly expenses dialed in. Great job. Now let's multiply that number by 12 to get your annual expenses. Simple math, right? But wait, we're not done yet. We also have to factor in inflation, our silent financial enemy. So let's break it down. Start by taking your monthly expenses and multiplying by 12. This gives you a baseline figure for what you'll need annually. But remember, we live in a world where prices tend to go up, not down. That's where inflation comes in. Inflation is like that sneaky tax you didn't see coming. It erodes the purchasing power of your money over time. For instance, if inflation is at 2% per year, a $100 grocery bill this year could be $102 next year. So, you need to adjust your annual expenses to account for this. The simplest way to do this is to take your annual expenses and multiply them by the rate of inflation. So if your annual expenses are $50,000 and inflation is sitting at a rate of 2%, you'll need to add $1,000 to your annual budget for next year. Now $51,000 becomes your new target. Why is this so important? Because failing to account for inflation could leave you financially stranded down the line. Imagine reaching your goal, living off interest, only to find out you can't maintain your lifestyle because you didn't plan for rising costs. That's a pitfall we want to avoid at all costs. So, your homework for this step is to update your annual expenses to be inflation-proof. Yes, you heard that right, inflation-proof. You don't want this to cripple you on the way down the road. Keep an eye on inflation rates and make adjustments to your financial plan annually. This isn't a one-and-done calculation. It's an ongoing commitment to your financial well-being. Moving on to our next pivotal calculation, the post-tax interest rate. Many people overlook this, and let me tell you, it can make or break your plans to live off interest. So let's demystify this crucial component. First, you need to know the interest rate your investments are earning. If you're investing in a savings account, bonds, or the stock market, you can usually find this information on your account statements or directly from your financial institution. But remember, the number you see is often the pre-tax rate, which means you still have to give a slice of that to the government. To find your post-tax interest rate, you'll need to account for any taxes you'll owe on your earnings. This can be complicated, but you can start by researching your country's specific tax brackets for interest income or consulting a financial advisor for personalized guidance. Once you know your tax rate, you can adjust your interest rate accordingly. For example, if your investments earn 6% and your tax rate is 25%, your post-tax rate would be around 4.5%. Now, why is this so crucial? Because planning with a pre-tax interest rate is like planning a road trip without accounting for rest stops. Sure, you might get there, but it's going to be a lot more uncomfortable than you thought. Using a post-tax rate gives you a more realistic and achievable target, ensuring that you don't fall short when you're counting on your investments to sustain your lifestyle. In summary, don't just take the first interest rate you see and run with it. Make sure to find your post-tax interest rate for a more accurate and realistic financial plan. This is not just a number, it's the bedrock of your financial freedom. If you're enjoying this video and finding it helpful, please consider giving it a thumbs up. Your support helps us create more content that empowers you. Now that we've navigated the complexities of post-tax interest rates, let's simplify things a bit with the next calculation, the 4% rule. This rule is a financial gem, a guideline that can help you quickly estimate how much you'll need to sustain your lifestyle. So what exactly is the 4% rule? The 4% rule is a widely accepted financial principle that suggests you can withdraw 4% of your portfolio each year without running out of money in retirement. Essentially, if you've got $1 million invested, you could safely withdraw $40,000 a year. It's a quick and dirty way to gauge your financial readiness for a life lived on interest. Now, you might wonder, why 4%? Well, this number comes from historical data on investment returns and inflation rates. While it's not foolproof, it has stood the test of time as a solid benchmark for sustainable withdrawals. But here's the kicker. The 4% rule can simplify your calculations immensely. Instead of getting lost in a web of variables and assumptions, you can take your annual expenses, multiply by 25, which is the inverse of 4%, and boom, you've got a ballpark figure of how much you need to retire comfortably. For example, if you need $50,000 a year to live, according to the 4% rule, you'd need a nest egg of about $1.25 million. Remember, the 4% rule is a guideline, not gospel. Market conditions can change, and personal circumstances can vary. It's always good to consult with a financial advisor for personalized advice. However, as a starting point for your calculations, the 4% rule can be incredibly valuable. All right, we've arrived at the grand finale, the calculation that brings it all together, your final number. This is the amount you'll need to live off interest, and it's derived from the annual expenses, post-tax interest rate, and other factors we've discussed. So how do we calculate this golden figure? Here's the formula. Take your adjusted annual expenses and multiply it by 100 and then divide it by your post-tax interest rate. In mathematical terms, that would be your annual expenses multiplied by 100 over your post-tax interest rate. This gives you the total amount you need to generate your required annual income through interest. Let's say your adjusted annual expenses are $50,000 and your post-tax interest rate is 4%. Using the formula, it would be $50,000 multiplied by 100 divided by 4. This would mean you'd need $1.25 million to sustain your lifestyle solely through interest. So why is this number so crucial? Because it's your financial North Star. This figure gives you a concrete goal to aim for. No more guessing, no more financial ambiguity. You now have a clear target that represents your ticket to financial freedom. However, remember that this is a dynamic number. Life changes, economies fluctuate, and personal needs evolve. That means you'll need to revisit these calculations periodically, especially when major life events occur, like marriage, children, or career changes. In summary, the final number isn't just a static goal. It's a living, breathing target that evolves with you. And now that you know how to calculate it, you've got a roadmap to a life where you're not working for money. Money is working for you. We've talked theory, we've crunched numbers, but what does this look like in the real world? Let's delve into some case studies that illustrate how all these calculations play out in actual lives. Here's our first case study. Meet Sarah. She's 45 and has always been frugal. She needs $40,000 a year to cover her expenses, and her post-tax interest rate is 4%. Using our formula, Sarah needs a nest egg of around $1 million to live off interest. She reaches this goal through a mix of savings, investments, and a small inheritance. At age 50, Sarah retires and starts living her dream life, traveling and volunteering, all while her investments do the heavy financial lifting for her. Now, let's consider Mark, our next case study. He's 30 and lives in a high-cost city. Mark needs $80,000 a year and has a post-tax interest rate of 3%. His required nest egg, using our formula, comes to around $2.67 million. Unlike Sarah, Mark has student loans and a mortgage, making his journey to financial freedom more challenging. He decides to move to a cheaper location, refinance his loans, and invest more aggressively to reach his target by age 45. Both Sarah and Mark achieve their goals, but through different paths and timelines. Their stories highlight the versatility and adaptability of our calculations. You can tailor these numbers to fit your unique circumstances, but it requires commitment, strategy, and sometimes a bit of creativity. Now let's talk about some pitfalls you should avoid. One common mistake is forgetting to adjust for inflation, as we discussed earlier. Ignoring inflation can severely underestimate your future needs. Another error is overestimating your post-tax interest rate. Being overly optimistic can leave you short when you start drawing on your interest income. And finally, don't forget about unexpected life events, medical emergencies, family needs, and market downturns. Make sure you always have a buffer, a financial cushion to absorb these shocks. Living off interest is more than achievable. It's a science and an art. It's about understanding the numbers, but also understanding yourself, your lifestyle, your priorities, and your future aspirations. Your final number is not just a figure. It's a reflection of the life you want to lead. As we wrap up, let's talk about some additional tips that can make your journey to living off interest more secure and successful. Diversification. You've probably heard the saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Well, this couldn't be truer when it comes to investing. Diversification is about spreading your investments across various asset classes, stocks, bonds, real estate, and even alternative investments like cryptocurrency. Why? Because markets can be unpredictable. If one sector crashes, you don't want it taking down your entire financial future with it. So, mix it up. Different assets react differently to economic conditions, and having a diversified portfolio can provide a safety net. Conservative estimates. While we all love to dream big, when it comes to financial planning, it pays to be conservative. Always underestimate your returns and overestimate your expenses. Doing so creates a financial buffer that can protect you from unexpected life events or market downturns. For example, if you think you could earn a 5% post-tax interest rate, plan for 4%. If you estimate your annual expenses to be $50,000, plan for $55,000. This conservative approach will give you peace of mind and make your financial plan more resilient. To sum it up, the journey to living off interest isn't just about crunching numbers. It's about applying wisdom to those numbers. Diversification protects you from market volatility, and conservative estimates shield you from life's unpredictability. Remember, financial freedom isn't just about having enough money. It's about having enough wisdom to manage that money effectively. So there we have it, the roadmap to your financial freedom laid out in 5 essential calculations. We started with monthly and annual expenses, moved on to understanding post-tax interest rates, and explored the 4% rule. Finally, we tied it all together to find your final number, the amount you need to live off interest. Along the way, we looked at real-world examples and discussed the importance of diversification and conservative estimates. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Your time is valuable, and I appreciate you spending it here at Practical Pursuits HQ. If this video has shed light on the possibilities of a life where you're not just working for money, but money is working for you, then don't just sit there. Start your calculations and planning today. Your future self will thank you. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps us create more content that empowers you to take control of your life, financially and beyond. And if you're hungry for more practical wisdom, be sure to check out our other videos on the channel. See you on the next one. Take care.